Welcome to Life Lessons from Dog. I'm Kari Solberg. For over 12 years, I've been immersed in the world of dogs, with 10 of those years being dedicated to professional training. My journey has taken me from fostering rescue dogs to owning and operating a boarding, training, and daycare facility. And along the way, I've learned something profound. Our dogs are some of the best teachers we'll ever have. Through countless experiences, I've learned life-changing lessons about patience, trust, resilience, and connection. But today I want to talk about something that has shaped not only my career, but my entire life: authenticity. More specifically, how leaning into who you truly are is the key to building real, meaningful community. Because the truth is, I didn't start my business with the community I have today. I had to build it. And the more I tried to fit into someone else's version of success, the more I realized I wasn't attracting my people. That only started to change when I stopped trying to model myself after others and started showing up as my full, unfiltered self. When I first started turning my gaze toward truly growing my business, I did what most people do. I looked at the industry leaders. I studied their formats, their structures, their pricing models, and their programs. I took note of what seemed to work and built my own system based on that. At first, I felt confident in the direction I was heading. I had a structured program, clear expectations, and a business model that followed what had been proven to work for others. And on the surface, it was working. The dogs I worked with were improving. My clients were happy. But something wasn't sitting right with me. I couldn't shake this nagging feeling that I wasn't getting the best results possible. The dogs were trained, yes, but I felt like there was room for deeper growth, more connection, and a stronger foundation. At first, I ignored that feeling, because who was I to question the tried and true industry standards? The people I had modeled my business after were successful, respected professionals. The framework worked for them, so why wasn't it fully clicking for me? I sat with that feeling for months, and the longer I sat with it, the clearer it became. I wasn't just questioning the methods, I was questioning whether they were truly mine. Eventually, I decided to shift my structure. Not because what I was doing wasn't working, but because I knew I was capable of something better. At first, I wasn't even sure what better looked like. I just knew I wasn't fully satisfied with the results I was getting. So I started questioning everything. Why was I following certain methods? Why was I structuring my programs the way I was? And whether any of it truly fit me. I started leaning more heavily into what made me, me. I paid attention to the way I naturally communicated with dogs, the instincts I had about how to approach training, and the moments where I felt the most in flow with my work. And little by little, I started adjusting, ditching parts that felt forced, leaning into the parts that felt intuitive, and creating a structure that wasn't just effective, but completely aligned with who I was. I stopped trying to follow a rigid formula and started listening to my gut. I gave myself permission to experiment, to trust the small voice inside me that said, "This makes sense, even if it's not the industry standard." And almost immediately, I saw a shift. The dogs were responding faster, not because I had some groundbreaking new technique, but because I was fully present, fully engaged, and trusting my own ability to read them. The relationships I was building with my clients were stronger, because I wasn't just teaching them a system. I was teaching them my way, and it resonated. The results were deeper, not just surface-level obedience, but meaningful, lasting transformations. But something else started happening too. As I became more me in my work, the right people started showing up. The clients who found me weren't just people looking for a dog trainer. They were people who were aligned with my way of doing things. They shared similar values. They appreciated the same philosophies. They trusted me, not because I was following a well-worn industry path, but because I was showing up as my authentic self. And over time, those clients became more than just clients. Many became friends. The kind of people who get me, who understand my approach, who don't just want a quick fix but a deeper understanding of their dogs. A real, thriving community started forming around me. Not because I was actively trying to build one, but because I was leaning fully into the work I was meant to do, in the way I was meant to do it. And that's when I realized something that changed the way I look at business, relationships, and life. You don't build a community by trying to appeal to everyone. You build it by showing up as yourself, unapologetically, and allowing the right people to find you. There's this idea that in order to be successful, you have to fit a mold, that you have to do things a certain way because that's what has worked before. But the truth is, the most powerful thing you can do, whether in business, relationships, or life, is be fully yourself. Because here's what I've learned. People aren't just drawn to what you do. They're drawn to how you do it. And most importantly, they're drawn to who you are while you're doing it. When you show up as your full, authentic self, you don't just attract clients, friends, or colleagues. You attract your people. The ones who resonate with your energy. The ones who want only what you can offer. The ones who will support you, cheer you on, and grow alongside you. That's the beauty of authenticity. When you stop trying to be everything for everyone, you create space for the right people to find you. And of course, as always, I see this mirrored in dogs, but not in the way you might expect. Dogs at their core are authentic creatures, but that doesn't mean they always feel safe enough to show up as their true selves. I see it all the time. Dogs who put on a facade because they feel they have to. A naturally social dog who starts acting aloof or aggressive towards other dogs because they've learned that the world isn't always safe. A dog who guards food or toys, not because they are possessive by nature, but because somewhere along the way they felt like they had to be. A dog who stiffens and avoids human affection, not because they don't want connection, but because they've been conditioned to believe that vulnerability isn't an option. These behaviors aren't always a reflection of who they are. They're a reflection of what they've learned to do in order to survive, to feel secure, and to maintain control. And when I help a dog work through those behaviors, what I'm really doing is helping them let go of the need to put on that mask. I'm creating space for them to return to their natural state, to be exactly who they are, without fear, without tension, and without the weight of needing to be something they're not. And the same is true for us. How often do we do the same thing? How often do we adjust ourselves to fit into spaces that don't actually align with us? How often do we suppress parts of ourselves, put up walls, or wear a version of ourselves that feels safer, more acceptable, and less risky? And just like with dogs, that kind of living takes a toll. When we try to be something we're not, we attract relationships, jobs, and environments that don't actually fit us. We find ourselves in places where we constantly have to manage, to protect, and to perform. And eventually, that effort drains us. But when we let go of that mask, when we stop shaping ourselves around what we think people want from us, and start showing up as we truly are, something shifts. The right people find us. The right opportunities show up. The weight lifts, and instead of surviving, we start thriving. Dogs don't thrive when they're living in a state of self-protection. Neither do we. And when we stop trying to conform, when we start trusting that who we are is enough, we don't just build careers, friendships, or businesses. We build communities. So my challenge for you this week is, where in your life are you shrinking yourself to fit into a mold that was never meant for you? Where are you following a path that feels safe, expected, but not entirely yours? And what if, just for a moment, you let go of the need to fit in and allowed yourself to show up fully, unfiltered, unapologetic, and completely you. Because what I've learned from experience is when you stop trying to fit where you don't belong, the right people, the right opportunities, and the right community will find you. But it starts with you giving yourself permission to take up space. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. You can also connect with me on Substack at lifelessonsfromdog.substack.com and on Blue Sky and TikTok at Life Lessons from Dog, where I share more reflections, behind-the-scenes moments, and lessons from the dogs who continue to teach me every day. And if you know someone who might need to hear this today, consider sharing this episode with them. Because sometimes, all it takes to start building real community is the courage to be yourself. Up next on Life Lessons from Dog. I didn't plan on being in a transition at the start of this year, but life had other plans. And before I knew it, I found myself in that awkward, uncomfortable space between what was and what's next. In the next episode, I'm diving into what I call the pause between, the messy middle, the waiting period, the space where nothing feels certain and yet everything is quietly shifting. We'll talk about how dogs navigate that same space, what obedience training has taught me about trusting the process, and why sitting in the unknown might be the most powerful thing we can do. If you've ever felt stuck in transition, or like you're building something with no guarantee it'll work, this one's for you. I'll see you next time on Life Lessons from Dog.